natural resource accounting. When you talk about costing, firstly, the important role of the institute is more important than any other professional body. Why? Because what a business can survive, as I tell you, cost optimized, etc., etc. The financial accounts only do a limited job of cost incurred. They will have to tabulate it, what is the cost incurred, and obviously revenue earned, they will put it on the other side and prepare a statement. The question is, financial account, therefore the limitation is that they will record truthfully and faithfully that they are supposed to do, and therefore we say fair and account that has been prepared. But cost is there, presumed has been incurred, therefore nothing can be done about it. Whereas you as cost accountants can go into the very concept as to why the cost should be incurred to begin with. Should it be done by the government or should it be done by you? By talking to the management and tell them we can do this job for you and can actually add value to you. See, any business that you are, any profession that you are in, you should always remember that any corporate body is going to avail of a service of any professional agency when it does value addition to him and not cost addition to him. So if the cost audit is cost addition, he will always be like you are saying to the government, they will also go to the government and say, why you are adding cost to me? So if you say that I will, rather than government forcing to do it, we as cost accountants will like to do this value addition to you by offering these services to you. Just imagine what will be the better acceptability. And the question will be, why I am saying this, is no other professional body, either chartered accountants or company secretaries or anybody else, is going into the very nature of why should that cost to be incurred to begin with. I'll give an example. FMCGs. They sell their products. The cost of product is X. The selling price is Y. What is that Y? The Y is the price on which they have no control. Because this is what FMCGs are, open market operations. So many people will sell it. Either Procter & Gamble or Unilever or somebody else is going to sell, Godrej will sell it. So therefore at marketplace the Y has a limited possibility of they changing it. But X they can change because that's the cost. So suppose if you work on X and try to tell them I will help you to optimize your cost in a manner that you cannot have ever imagined, this is the point. What will chartered accountant do? He will not go into this aspect. He will say what is the cost? I will prepare a statement and tell you whether we are earning profit or loss. And I will certify it as an auditor whether it's correct or not. But going to the basic concept of deciding whether the cost should be incurred or not, who is going to decide? And particularly FMCG, because I have mentioned it, good cost of FMCG products goes into packaging. Suppose you are going to sell a product with a packaging, with the same packaging which not destroy the product inside, but if the thickness of a material that is used, you reduce it by some millimeters, the amount of paper, amount of material that will be required to make that product, make that packaging will get reduced dramatically. Which is that agency which is going to do it today? So I think what you should try to focus on is how do you help the corporates to ensure that they will be able to optimize their operations and they will succeed in the marketplace because of these cost related strategies. That is your job. As a cost accountant, nobody knows it better than you do it. And you are not just cost accountant. You are not calling cost accountant in India, but actually you are also CMA, that means management accountant. So job of a cost and management accountant is help management to manage business by optimizing the cost. It's like a backward integration. You start with management and go into the back side of it is cost. If you can integrate cost and helping the management to work on it. Because again I'm going back to the point that I started my speech with, that marketplace is that's where the success of a company and a product is going to be determined. And if the market doesn't accept a corporate, there is no need for any professional, either chartered accountant or cost accountant or company secretary or a lawyer or a doctor or anybody. So success at marketplace is what is going to determine. If he succeeds, obviously he would need agencies. And for him to succeed, we have to work on it. Now just tell me, Apple has to compete with Samsung and many others. What will Apple and Samsung do? They'll come out with new products all the time, the 10, 11, whatever number keeps coming. I am not as technology savvy as you are. But when they come, one, they'll add features, but what else they will do? They'll try to reduce cost so that they can sell it better. Now tell me something, is it something which is determined cost audit directed by the US government to them? Is it something which has been done by the agency which forces them to do audit? That's why they can reduce the cost. This should be done in a way that management, so therefore they would have a big cost department. I'm sure they will have. They'll be working on it. I think that is what should be the role of a cost accountant in the change atmosphere. And you can play that role in a much bigger way. So coming to the natural resource accounting I was talking about, today the challenge is, as you know, when you do a costing, either it could be labor, it could be material, it could be other overheads and everything else, interest cost and everything else, capital cost. But more importantly, material. We may think it is coming from somewhere, but material, good part of the material, in fact some material can trace their ancestry to somewhere in the natural resources anyway. Because our natural resources are going to get scarcer and scarcer, the cost of natural resources has to be higher and higher. As the environment minister way back in 1998, I had introduced this concept of natural resource accounting, and I told everybody, why don't you work on it? Unfortunately, nobody has made any big progress on it. I would urge your institute to work on natural resource accounting, and that's a big cost. You can imagine if you can work in a natural resource accounting, and sometimes it may be higher. It doesn't matter. For example, if an industry drawing water and that water body is limited because we have only 4% of the water of the world, how can you apportion that cost of that water? Because here you are not taking historical cost. When you do costing, you can either go on historical cost basis, that is the cost which has already been incurred, or you can go on opportunity cost basis. Suppose if you lose a particular asset forever, what is the opportunity cost of that? Therefore, if you can actually develop a methodology and start applying it, just imagine what could be the utility of it. I will tell you something. Today you want to go and tell the government, why don't you introduce cost audit? If you develop a methodology like this, government will come to you and will tell you, why don't you apply this methodology on everything, because Environment Ministry and others will be very happy to do it. So rather than thinking in a very limited way, you should think about it. Another thing, and I will just give another example. I was a railway minister. I asked a question, and the railways maintain their accounts on their own. They don't get merged with the government accounts. Finally they do, but the railway accounts are completely independent of normal central government accounting. The money, of course, even consolidated, some money goes to consolidated fund, but railways have their own money which can be retained by railways themselves. I ask a question. We have so many, I don't know whether to call them cost center, profit center, because there are no center. They are just those people. So I called one of the top. We have railways make their own rolling stock. I called the biggest rolling stock companies, and they are just called general manager. I called him. I said, tell me, what is your profit for the last year? He looked at me as if I asked a question in Latin. So I didn't get what you are saying. What was the profit of your operation? He said, so we don't prepare profit loss account. It's okay. Tell me, what is the price at which you give it to railways? What is the basis of pricing? Yes, sir, we just do it on basis. I said, what is the costing of this? The concept of costing is absent. Then I started saying that why not we convert each of these as profit centers? Try to apportion proper cost on it, and I'm not saying close down, but make them efficient so that each one of them can start making better value addition to the national economy. But that's one part. I was just tell you another example in which you can also play a big role into this. I said the government accounting needs a reform, which everybody says. For 25 years we are listening to this. So I asked the people who are doing this with the Ministry of Finance, and I said, what is the concept of reform? They said, we are going in a big way. I said, very good, that is what we want, but what is a big way? He said, we want to convert single entry into double entry. I said, fantastic, what a big way you are doing. Converting single entry to double entry is the greatest reform that we can think about. In fact, I will tell you something, which I will not blame them for saying this, because when I was a power minister, I had to introduce a new law, which in fact transformed the electricity sector in a significant way. The installed capacity was 89,000, which has become 350,000. That time there was a power deficit, and I used to always say India will become power supply. Nobody believed, but it has become only because of that one law that I got it passed, and with lot difficulty, different thing. But in that law, I had to put one clause. Now become it's a part of the act that every consumer must have electricity meter, compulsory meter. I was asking to myself, is it a reform? I did many other reforms that are different thing, but this particular part of it, when somebody said in the article, is a great reform. I said, what reform? It's a basic fundamental thing. So that is as fundamental as having single entry and double entry, nothing great. Therefore, the accounting changes that I wanted to introduce the railway was that every expenditure that is incurred, whether it's incurred on making rolling stock or rendering passenger service or doing everything else, should have an outcome. If you have an outcome, then you cannot have outcome for the railway as a whole unless you have a small little centers, either profit centers or cost centers, or at least action centers, we can call them as a new concept. Each of that center therefore must take responsibility for coming out with certain outcomes. Or a railway as an organization is supposed to come out with the outcome of providing best service. It cannot happen unless you break it down into lower level. Because you cannot say that I want to change the world. Very good idea, you want to change the world, but what part of the world you want to change? And which part of geography of that world you want to change, you have to say it. So you have to break it down into small little centers. That's what a cost accountant do. But if you want outcomes, you break it down into this, and each of these profit centers, there is nothing wrong in having cost centers. In fact, there is a line function, there is a staff function. If somebody wants to be, there is cost center, doesn't mind, as long as that cost is apportioned on certain other profit center. That's what we do ultimately as cost accountant. But point is, we said we'll work on it, and I started working on a concept of linking each and every item leading to outcomes. And I have hired a lot of professionals to work on it. In fact, the first step was ready. We actually implemented one division already, I think Ajmeri division. But if you want outcomes, then you must know the outputs. If you know the output, then you must know where will the output come from. When you incur the expenditure, only then the output will come. If you want expenditure incurred to be captured into outcomes, then if the budget, when it was prepared, had not worked on it, how do you get this? So we have to start, if you want to get outcomes eventually, you have to start with the budgeting to begin with. And there you cannot just integrate financial accounts, but you have to integrate costing, you have to do management accounting, you have to have financial accounting, you have to have management information system, all rolled into one. And if you do that, and that's what we are trying to do, you can succeed in this. Now just imagine, if you take a new ideas like this and say that this is what we like to do, can it not have an applicability of a much larger scale? So therefore, I am saying that cost accountants with a changed atmosphere will have a far bigger responsibility than you could ever imagine. I was just asking them because my days are no longer practicing for the last 25 years or more, but because I was practicing chartered accountant, then I became, by mistake, I got into public life and I became youngest ever chairman of Saraswat Bank, the largest cooperative bank, and I gave up my practice. As a bank, I never charged any money, but I neglected my practice. I had a very large practice. Section 233B under the Companies Act 1956 that mandated it. There is some particular relevance to this. In today's atmosphere, cost and cost audit is important, more important than any other time. But it should be seen in a different context than what was seen under 233B context. That time the days were different, there was no competition, product was selling at market price, government had to decide like tariff for the they will decide various pricing and everything else. Today the situation has completely changed. And I was giving an example, it is no longer you have to decide because even if you are charging more, there are forces from the marketplace which will ensure that you cannot charge more. And therefore, we have to think about in this different context how we cost accountants who have far more competence and capabilities than many other professional bodies in area which is far more important, because as I was telling you, to succeed in marketplace, the starting point will be costing. And the costing will itself is going to decide the success of that organization over a period of time. And therefore, you as cost and management accountant can play a key role in making that happen. Only thing what is necessary is that rather than focusing on one aspect, look at it in a broader sphere, think about it, opportunities, and then you will realize, my God, I never thought about it. And therefore, then suddenly you will be saying that you are being quoted by all corporates to come to you. Just imagine, there are few management consultancy firms. They offer management advice. Why each and every cost and management accountant cannot compete with those management firms? You have the competence, you have the technical knowledge, you have the ability, and you can do a better job because some of the management consultants may not have been very good cost accountant. Costing is a fundamental of a success. Again, I repeat that point. And that is why you can think about doing a far better job only if you think little differently than what you are thinking today. So let me offer you my best wishes. I will be very happy to be your friend all the time and come with you and work with you on any issue that concerns membership at large. Let me once again thank you for inviting me. I hope I will get more opportunities to join with you and talk to you in future. Thank you very much.